it's Kral Space. I'm Kim Kral. I am reporting to you not live from my closet. Hi, everybody. Hi. Um, I just got done getting my hair done and my brown hair is back. And I thought I would hate it for a while because when my hair's been like a shade of red for the better part of like 4 years. And I just honestly, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the maintenance behind it. I'm tired of the unpredictability behind it. If you are a redhead, an unnatural redhead, you know how like every week your hair is literally a different color because of just like fade out or whatever. And so was just tired of it. But I was like, I'm just going to go back to my natural hair color, cut off a bunch of it and cut off a bunch of it and see what happens. Cause I also have to get new headshots soon. And I was like, I don't want to get headshots as a redhead. It's just too much. It's too much. And so I thought, I know when I was like a kid, we're just jumping right into it. I'm really in love with it, you guys. When I was a kid, my mom always dyed her hair pretty blonde, right? Like bleach blonde. Like I'm surprised that lady's not bald at this point. She might be bald at this point. I don't know. I haven't seen her in a decade, but she fried the shit out of her hair for a long time. Like bleach blonded it. And one time when she was probably around my age, because I was like 14 or 15, she decided to dye her hair back her natural color. And she got home. And yeah, it was like, oh, my mom I knew in like the 80s and 90s, like the early 90s, like not my mom I've known for a while. Like my mom when I was like a little kid. She did look different, but she looked pretty and fine, right? But she flipped out. She's like, I look like a fucking rat. And she cried. And I was like 14, 15. And I remember just being like, man, it's a bizarre thing to cry about, right? I was raised mostly by a dude. So one time, the only time I ever cried about my hair, it was the New Year's going into 2000. So I was a senior in high school and I wanted to get my hair cut like Britney Spears, how Britney had really like short hair. And I didn't realize that at the time. I didn't understand that Britney had like a team of stylists. I don't know what I'm looking at, by the way. If you're watching me on YouTube, I'm like staring off into space like I'm talking to somebody. But yeah, I didn't know at the time that like Britney had like, like a crew of humans that like made her look perfect all the time. You know what I mean? Like she like had people like following her, and I had Supercuts in Littleton, Colorado. And so I went and I was like, cut all my hair off and dye it blonde. And she did. She cut it all off right below my ears. No layers, no nothing. Just like a straight Tom Petty cut. And then it was Supercuts. So, and I don't no offense if you work at Supercuts. I'm sure it's a lot different now than it was in the 90s. But in the 90s, it was like me dyeing my hair at home. Like and like there was no anything. Like I've dyed my hair blonde since, and it was definitely done a lot differently. And it was fine. It was a little orangey, but it was fine. But it was more the cut. And I went home and I was so sad. And I walked inside, and my asshole dad looked up from his scotch and his TV or his beer, whatever he was, drinking that afternoon, and looked me up and down and looked at my hair and started laughing and said, "You look ridiculous. You have Tom Petty's haircut." And I was like a 17-year-old girl, and I cried really hard over that. That's the only time I've ever cried over hair. And I get why my mom cried because, it looked, I get it. It's your appearance. It's whatever. But like, I wasn't as confident. Like I wasn't a 38-year-old woman like my mom was then. Like I was talking to the girls who did my hair today. I was just like, yeah, I'm not really like, I'm much more confident with in my own skin now, that if I got a really bad haircut, I would figure it out, right? Like at 17, I thought I was the ugliest thing that ever walked the planet. So like if you did anything that made me feel like I looked uglier, it was like the end of the world, right? And then I went home, and the one person who was supposed to like love and support me was like, "You look stupid." Oh, I cried. I did look like Tom Petty. I wonder if there's any pictures of that anywhere. I think it's not as bad now that I look back on it. It's not as bad as I thought it was, but I thought for sure today, just because it was so different than the red that I've had, I thought it was just not going to look great. And so the girl like washed it out, and I was like, my head's in the sink. I'm like, "How's it going?" And she's like, it looks, it looks beautiful. And she was like this, cute, young, like 20, she had to have been 18, 19. I have no idea. I go to Paul Mitchell school. I either get my hair done by hair modeling, like I get paid to get it done, or I go to Paul Mitchell school. Like I've tried to go to like professional haircutting people. That's not what they're called. They're called like stylists, I think. But it's like, it literally costs like $400 to get your hair done. And it's the same amount of time and the same. And a lot of times I don't even like I love my haircut so much more when I do it at Paul Mitchell school than I do at the various like professionals, I'm using air quotes, around the city that costs, like a $200 haircut. So I stand by it. It is a lot longer of a process. I mean, the best hair color I've ever gotten, besides being when I was a hair model, I think I'm retiring that too, by the way. So I'm saying was a hair model, was when I did Vidal Sassoon school. Like they have one in Santa Monica. Like, I don't know, I was like 22 years old, and it was like one of the best haircuts and colors I've ever gotten. It takes like 6 hours because it's a student. So like their teacher has to come around and they have to get like everything approved. But like, guys, I love my fucking hair. Like, it's just like, oh my God, I just look like a different human in it. I'm happy to be back brunette. It's so funny because nobody ever talks about how they want to be a brunette. And a lot of people, I didn't tell anybody I was doing this today because a lot of people were really adamant about me keeping my red hair. No, keep the red hair. No, come on. And I was like, well, do you want to come over and retouch it up every week? Because it's a different color every week. Anyway, so I just got my hair done, and it was fun. It was a long experience. So this like cute young girl. So I go to Paul Mitchell school, and this young girl is, she's gotta be like 19. So she's in school. She's like working at a fast food joint up the street. She's just like working her ass off. I just love that kind of shit. And so I was like, she's rinsing it out in the sink. I can't see it. I'm like, how does it look? And she goes, oh my God, it's gorgeous. And I was like, well, truthfully, what else would you have said? Like, you couldn't have said anything else. And she goes, honestly, I'm really honest. I think I would always tell people the truth, even if I didn't like it. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah, I would just say, it's not really it's not really my favorite color. So I don't know. She said it like in a cute young way where you're like, I can't be mad at that. But I also was like, you know what, girl, though, I think I would freak out if you said that to me. I'd be like, what? But, then oh my God, you guys, I love it so much. You'll probably see it on Instagram before you hear this. As I said, I think I told you guys this last week or the week before. Time isn't real anymore. Nothing is real. That if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get access to early episodes, which you'll get a week in advance episode. Then you also get the Patreon exclusive episodes that I record with Jeff May, or my sexual revolution, where I just talk about basically my sex life, and the revolution of it. I guess that's the way it goes. So I did that, and then early this morning, Henry, my booty bear, my best friend. If you're a listener to Crawl Space and you don't know who Henry is, you're not listening. I don't. Then you're. You know what I mean? Like, if you're anyone who's in my life knows who he's my king. I'm his fan. He's my best friend. Oh, I love that goddamn animal, you guys. So he had I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, sorry, I'm drinking a lot of water. I ate In-N-Out burger, and it was, when you're eating it, you're like, man, In-N-Out burger is the only fast food. I drank a lot of coffee while I got this thing done. So it's buckle up. What was I saying? Oh yeah, when you eat fast food and afterwards you feel really shitty. Like, In-N-Out burger is the only one I don't really feel shitty. Like, I don't feel like I'm about to like blow out a toilet. But I do get really thirsty. I think it's got a lot of sodium. So I might like a thing on my nail. It's driving me crazy. So a couple of weeks ago, I think I told you guys about how Henry had to go in for his second checkup after the procedure he had last year for his thyroid problem, just to make sure his kidneys were fine and whatever. And so all the blood work a couple of weeks ago came back great, but we had to do a urine analysis, and that equaled me having to get my cat's urine. And the first time I got his pee, it was like super easy. And then this last time it wasn't easy at all. And so I finally got it. And I think that's where I left off with you guys last week, is that I told you I turned it in like it was an assignment. So they got the results back a couple of days later, and they were like, there's some blood in his urine. Please call us. So we need to take some x-rays. And of course, that's just so fucking scary. It's just like, can we just get a goddamn break? And so I called on Saturday, and we made x-rays for today. And I love my doctor because, they all just seem like they care so much. Right. I think they do. I don't know. I had one friend who went to him and she didn't really care for him. She had a bad experience, but we also, I like, I think, I mean, I'm lucky I have a good experience with him, and that's pretty much all I'll say about that. But, I was, so that she was like, let me call you right back. And he was like, not an emergency, just get in here, as soon as we have an appointment. So I came in today and they were like, well, it could be a kidney stone, which equals possible surgery. And I was just like, all right. And the cool part about and I don't know if I've talked about, yeah, I guess I have talked about my recovery lately. But like the cool part about it is pre 12 steps and pre ACA and all this work I've done on myself. I would have spun out completely the moment they said that there was blood in his urine. And there would have been like like I would have been obsessive and I wouldn't have been able to stop thinking about worst case scenarios. Right. And I just really, I was just like, you know what, we will cross this bridge when we get to it. Like I'm willing to like donate my kidney sell my kidney on the black market to keep this cat alive. Right. And so I just was able to just be really calm and present and be like, I know I have a good doctor. I know that when, if and when something is going to happen, he's going to make sure that Henry gets the best care. And he's fine. The doctor has to say, he's like 95%, there's nothing there. He's like 5% there might be, but if you don't see any blood in it, like if you don't see any blood in the litter box and he's not like crying while he's peeing, thank God, knock on wood. That sounds like that would be an awful, awful thing to discover. He's like, in 6 months, come back and we'll check it out. But we did the x-rays of the bladder and I'm so excited about that. So my booty bear is healthy. Now we just have to figure out a way to get Lucy not feral so I can take her to the vet too. But the only way I can do it is like in the middle of the night, drug her. Cause like she'll sleep with me. She sleeps with me. But as soon as I wake up, she darts under the bed. So I have to this morning I got up at like 5 a.m. and the two of them, it's really cute when they sleep in, because if I wake up at 8:30, they're both like wide awake and ready to go. But if I get up at like 5 a.m., they both I keep the door and the lights off so they can like sleep a little longer. God, I love those fucking animals. So the human head thing. All right. So when you go your hair done at a school, they have like it's not actual human heads, obviously, but it's like these like plastic mannequin heads that they're all like cutting on. And I was just like, and I had a bunch of the students sitting around me and I was like, hey, like, what do you do when you cut all the hair off? Like, what happens? And they were like, you just throw it away. And I was like, oh, you don't like return it? And then the company like re-sews hair back in and they're like, no, you can't use them anymore. I'm like, how many are they expensive? And they're like, yeah, they're like $50 to $200. And some of them have real human hair. Like someone who has long hair like me, or used to have long hair like me, cut it off. Like if I didn't cut enough to donate it today, but if I ever did, I would donate to like a kid with cancer, not like some weird like hair school, even though like I know hair school is very necessary. We all get our hair done, right? But like, it's just like, what a weird thing. And they're like, yeah. So, and one girl was like, yeah, some people donate their hair and then they like sell their hair to the hair school and the mannequin head manufacturer. And then the people who like sell their hair to them, then donate it to like charities. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how this random girl knows that. But I was really concerned. I was like, so these heads cost anywhere from $50 to $200 and they have multiple of them. And I'm like, so you just throw them away? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, do you throw them away in the same spot? I mean, these kids thought I was nuts. I'm like, none of you have ever thought about this before? And they're like, not really. I'm like, is it just like a big dumpster outside the Sherman Oaks Galleria that has just like 40 mannequin heads that are like all these wild haircuts? And they're like, we don't know. And I was like, what? And I'm like, do you guys get attached to them? Like, do you like save them? Like, what do you do? And all of them were like, no, except for one girl. One girl goes, I get pretty attached to them. And I was like, really? I'm like, do you name them? She goes, yeah, I name all of them. I'm like, do you save them? She's like, they're all in my closet. I'm like, oh my God, you are my soulmate. The rest of them were like, no, we just throw them out. And they acted like no one had ever asked them that before. They were like, what a weird question. What a weird thing to think about. I was like, you're a weird thing to think about. I don't even know what that means. So last week I told you a few things. One, I thought I broke my ankle or fractured my ankle. Two awesome things came out of that. One, I did not fracture my ankle. And two, the doctor that I went to go see is now my gyno, and the very first doctor out of all the doctors I've seen since I've had COVID who listened to me. Like the first Kaiser doctor I talked to is the one who got me the lung appointment. That's actually on Thursday. I'm pretty stoked about that. Actually, I'm kind of scared about that. It's like a 2-hour procedure. They use the words procedure, and I'm like, oh, and they're like, just don't take any meds 4 hours in advance, like my inhaler meds. But like, this is the woman who like, she didn't look at me like I was crazy. She was like, I don't think it's fractured, but you can walk on a fracture, so it's possible. We'll just get all that. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I'm a gyno, and I haven't found a gyno yet at this new insurance. And she's like, I'm a gyno. And I was like, cool. And it's funny, she's like, we could just check you out today. And I was like, yeah, I was like, you're a woman, so maybe you'll get this, but like, it's like getting a PAPS, guys, men, if you don't know this, it's like a thing you got to kind of prepare yourself for. It's like it's just like, it's kind of a, not humiliating. That's not a good word for it, but it's just not a great, as a kid, when I was younger, I used to say they used to take all your dignity and just like put it down your throat, but it's just very uncomfortable. You're very exposed. Like, you're like, stirrups naked, they like and it's not comfortable, like where it's like, well, you put a penis inside of you or like a baby comes out, so it does stretch, but like there's no lubricant, so they have to use their own, and then they put this like cold thing, and then they open you up for a while they like dig around, and it's literally like a minute and a half, but a minute and a half with some person's hand fist deep in your vagina, not for pleasurable reasons, is kind of a nightmare. So I was like, let's do it another day. And she's like, okay. And I asked her about my headaches. I was like, hey, I have, really bad headaches since I've had COVID, it's part of my long haul thing. And she was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, all the doctors I've talked to have literally all told me to just take 800 milligrams of ibuprofen every 4 hours. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, they just said just to do that. And she goes, and you're doing that? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, does it help? And I'm like, sometimes. And she goes, yeah, first of all, that's way too much. Like every 8 hours, maybe, but not every 4. And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, I'm going to prescribe you a bunch of shit. So she prescribed me a bunch of shit. And then she goes, hey, if your ankle isn't fractured, I'm going to send you to physical therapy, because you shouldn't have like your ankle. I've been staying off of it. I mean, I've bartended, but like I've been really staying off of it other than that. And bartending, I've been like pretty good at like putting only all the weight on my right foot. I had to look and see which one my foot was. And she was like, yeah, that shouldn't be the case. You should be healed by now. So like great news, no fractured ankle, 1. And 2, I finally have a doctor that I think is going to listen to me. Like actually hear me. So we're going tomorrow. She's gonna, do all that stuff. The stuff I just described for some reason in big detail. But I'm pretty excited about it. I'm excited. And then Thursday is the lung appointment. I'm scared of that. I'm just scared that I'm hopeful after talking to this new doctor that maybe these people will also not make me feel crazy. But a lot of the doctors I've talked to in the last, 2 years, almost a while now, a lot of them have not validated my experience, or they're just like, yeah, that sucks. There's nothing we can do. And, the x-rays I had, I don't know, 6 months ago, he was like, it's fine. So we got to send you to a specialist. And I'm just scared that this is just like more unanswered questions. But like my cats today, I'm going to stay out of the wreckage of the future. And I am just going to go and see what happens and do my best. I don't know. My breathing's been acting up pretty bad the last like 5 days, and it's weird. I'm like kind of excited about it because like my luck, I will be fine the whole day. I go to the lung doctor and they'll be like, yeah, everything's fine. I'm like, yeah, today it's fine. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm glad that that sounds so fucked up that I'm glad that I'm still feeling bad. But I just, if that makes any sense at all, my biggest fear is that I go there and they're basically like, you're fine. We don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I can't breathe most of the time. So I can't imagine they're going to say that. So I said I had a crush on someone last week. No more. That crush is gone. But I'm proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself. So he and I have been texting a little bit, right? And a little bit like several times a day for like 8 days. And so we had talked about going on a hike. And so my ankle wasn't broken. He asked if my ankle was broken or the fracture. And I was like, no, it's not. So do you want to go on a hike this Sunday? I was like, truthfully, I just didn't want to go walking around on it if something was wrong with it. Like if it was fractured, I didn't want to make it worse. And so I was like, yeah, I would, let's go on a hike this Sunday. Fucking crickets. Nothing. Haven't heard from him. It's almost been a week. Haven't heard from him at all. Nonstop texting me back until I was like, let's make a plan. And then just crickets. And the growth there is, I don't really care that much, first of all. Like, I'm like, well, that's his loss. But like the old Kim would have messaged him something like, did that scare you away? Or like, what can I say to make you feel like that I'm worthy of going on a hike with you? You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, okay, well, I've already read the Newly Sober Wishy-Washy book. I know how it ends. I don't need to pick up that book again. I mean, that was the Seattle guy, the Newly Sober, like wishy-washy. I want you here. I don't know if I want you here. Wait, there's a plan. You know what I mean? I've already read that book. I don't need to read it again. And that was a wild response. I have never had. I've not never had, but no, I'm going to say like normally, I mean, like I was a little bummed. It was like, oh, I was excited. I thought, he was a sweet guy. I thought he was different. And I don't think he's a bad guy by any stretch, but not the droid I'm looking for. It's, oh man, it's just, I was thinking tonight I was driving home and I was thinking about relationships and like, I haven't met anyone new in 2 years. Like all the people I've had any sort of relations with, I mean, except for the neurotic swinger that I talked about in the Sexual Revolution first episode that's actually on the crawl space that sparked the Sexual Revolution Patreon podcast. Like that guy is the only one, but he was like not anybody I would date, But like I was thinking about that tonight, like I haven't met anybody new in 2 years because I've been, COVID, 2 years COVID. I mean, I've bartended and whatnot, but like, I meet a ton of people through that, but I wouldn't date anybody through that. Not to be a dick, but like, it's never anybody that, I would be interested in. Like everybody I met at the bar I worked at that I got COVID at, were all people that spent all their time at that bar. I don't want to date a guy or a girl that spends all their time is like a well-known regular at some bar that they're like, yeah, I get a drink here every day. Like I haven't met anybody. And so I'm like, it's odd. Like I don't feel lonely, but it would be nice to meet someone if that makes sense. I don't know. I've had a rough couple of months, with all the losses and whatnot, and just like a lot of hard hits, but it feels like it's starting to come out. Oh my God, my cat, not Henry, Lucy, is staring at me. Hi, sweetheart. Oh, you guys, I would do anything to make her not afraid in this world. She's just so scared. I get it, the first like 3 weeks of her life were just like traumatizing. And maybe in a couple of years, I don't know, maybe in a couple of years she'll come around. She'll be with us for 5 years in September. So I think she lays with me, and at night when I like watch TV, she'll come up and sit on my lap. I don't know, but she's staring at me right now from like 8 feet away, with just one of her eyes and the other one. You know how cats do that, where they like block one of their eyes and you can just see, I don't know, no one cares about this. But yeah, I don't feel lonely, but I do feel myself kind of looking at people that I wouldn't normally want to date. You know what I mean? Like the guy that I've had this weird on it, not on anything, but like the guy that I've had a lot of, who's a friend, I guess. I wouldn't normally like put so much stock in him, but I think it's because I just haven't been out in the world to meet. The only places I've been are comedy clubs, comedy shows, bars, and, bar environments because of COVID, and bar environments either to go out or to work. And I don't know, it was just a weird realization today. So I'm not sure really what to do, because I don't want, if you have any suggestions to like meet new people, I don't want to join the apps, man. I thought about joining Hinge again. I just don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that. So I guess I'm just going to keep swimming and keep doing what I'm doing. And, they'll come around. They'll come when they're supposed to come. Come, hey. But yeah, but yeah, so the guy I had a crush on, another one bites the dust, I guess. But I'm really proud of myself because normally old Kim would have for sure been like, I got to figure out how to get this guy to know that he's missing out. And I'm like, I don't care. But speaking of, okay, so this is a new thing that I heard about today, and I'm so excited about it. So I was on my way to get my hair done. I was listening to the radio, and they talked about something called sologamy. And I was so afraid I was going to forget because I'm driving, and I'm like, I got to write this down. I got to write this down. What the fuck? What the fuck? I got to look it up. It is where you marry yourself. And it has become very popular in the last 2 years where people like me who are single, have been quarantining alone, have figured out that it's like the ultimate self-love, have wedding ceremonies. Like wedding ceremonies. Like I buy myself a diamond ring, an engagement ring, and a wedding band. And I buy myself a dress. And then I rent out a venue. I get invitations. Fucking Google it, you guys. It's fucking real. I get invitations and I send them to my friends. And then I register that I'm getting married to myself. And then people show up while a minister ordained or whatever, or someone performs the ceremony. And this is a real thing. It's not legally binding, obviously. It's not, you don't get any, like no country, no entity in the planet recognizes it as a legally binding marriage. So you don't get like tax breaks or anything like that. But people are really out there doing it. And then so as I'm Googling it, it's like the questions that are asked. So, when you Google, so sologamy is wild. Don't worry. I don't want to marry myself. I love myself a whole lot. Like enough to marry myself, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm trying to, like, part of me, like if I booked a really big commercial, like if something like big happened to me financially and I had like fuck off money, I might do it as a prank to see the looks on my friends and family's faces change. To be like, I proposed to myself. I mean, I do kind of think that like it sucks that like people like me don't get like a registry for something. You know what I mean? Like if you get married, you get like 4 blenders. If you have a baby, you get like 4 blenders. Actually, I don't, you get whatever. But if you like, that doesn't make any sense. But you know what I mean? Like if you get married, you get like all this shit. But if you're just like, oh no, I'm focusing on my career, you don't get a register anywhere. No one will just, add to your breast implant fund. If you're like, hey, I'm going to marry myself, and what I want to get for myself for my wedding is tits. So I'm going to put on my wedding website, tiethenot.com or whatever it is. I don't know. I thought about this a lot today, along with those human heads. I didn't bring up sologamy to the kids because I feel like I freaked them out enough with my human head stuff. And then I was also really tired. But you can marry yourself. So then, when you go to Google, you're like, like you ask the question and then a bunch of questions below will like ask like are a bunch of like what are my common questions that people ask below show up, right? They're apparently, oh my God, can you marry your dog? It's often seen as accordance to, oh my God, no, you can't marry your dog. You can't marry your dog. You can marry yourself because you're able to consent. We should go back to the whole consenting thing. Anyway, that's so annoying when people are like, what are you just going to start marrying animals now? Like when they go into like how they're anti-gay marriage and they're like, what are they going to be able to marry your dog? It's like, well, a dog can't consent. Like another adult can. That's the difference. You fucking moron. You homophobic moron. But like, so it says, can you marry your sister in Alabama? That was one of the top ones. Another one is, where was the other one? is sologamy narcissistic? And it's like the reader was, I married me. And some people associated sologamy with vanity, seeking adoration, or narcissism. But the psychiatrist disagrees. She says it helps develop a sense of self-worth that deepens the capacity for human connection. Maybe I should get married to myself. If I got married to myself, then maybe that is like, then that'll help me be, I don't even like, that's the other thing I was thinking about too. I don't even remember. Lucy is literally just staring at me. I can't, like, Henry, I know loves me, right? Like, if I ever were to die in this apartment, I know no one believes me. Like, you guys are like, no, your cat would totally eat you. I don't know, guys. Henry loves me. Like, Henry and I are like, he's not a normal cat. If you've never met him, if you have met him, you're like, yeah, he's not normal. Like, he's just like, he's the best little boy in the world. But Lucy, I feel like Lucy would eat me. I can't tell if she's like, no, she's doing the slow eye thing. Oh, I love you too. Okay. But yeah, I was thinking about that today. Like, I haven't been in a relationship in years. I don't even think I know how to do it. I don't even know. So I'm like sitting here thinking, like, I want to meet somebody, but I'm like, I don't even remember what it's like to have to like, you know, when you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you have to be like, I talked about this a while ago. I don't think I talked about it on here, but I think about it a lot. I don't eat dinner. I mean, I do. I mean, that's a lie. Now I eat dinner, but before I like loved myself a lot, I didn't really eat dinner because I just never ate like a normal time or a normal person, right? It was just like whenever, most of the time it was ever when I was like, fuck, I'm like starving and I need to eat right now because I just didn't have very great self-care. But when you're in a relationship, you kind of always have to eat dinner with that person. Like, that's like, you're always like eating together. And that's like, I don't know, the last two boyfriends I had, like the only two like committed, serious boyfriends I've ever had. I've had a lot of weird relationships, but like the two like serious committed ones that I met their parents, that whole thing, we had to like eat together every night. And like the nights that we didn't spend the night together, it was like a big deal. And so I'm kind of wondering if maybe I ought to just like enjoy this now, you know, because I obviously want a partner and I'm sure I'm going to meet one eventually. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I know something starting right now, you know, the Little Mermaid song. You know, like, so I know eventually I will. So instead of like being sad about not having someone, I think I should really just enjoy having my own bed, not having like being able to just eat whatever the hell I want. And the other part is too, like, you spend so much money in a relationship. Like, even I can't imagine what men spend, because it's like if you're like, oh, like I remember my ex Rob, we would like, I would, you know, he was like studying for this like test all the time and he kept failing, and then we broke up and he always blamed me. Sorry, it's very funny. He used to blame me for failing this test, and then we broke up, and then like 6 months later I got my shit back. And I was like, what are you up to? He's like, oh, I'm studying for this test. And I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, I failed it 2 more times. I was like, oh man, who do you blame now for failing it now that we're not in a relationship? And he's like, oh no, because every time he failed it, he said it was because of me. Anyway, so he's always studying for this test. And oh my God. Anytime we posted this video of him and I, like when we first started dating, he was studying to be a CPA. And we posted this video. We were at Stoutburger with his friend, and his friend took a video of our hands under the table. We weren't doing anything. I like had my hand on his knee, and I think I like rubbed his leg a little bit, like nowhere near his dick, right? And then the video goes up to our faces, and we both smile and kiss each other, and then we laugh, and then I kiss him on the cheek. And his friend posted this on Facebook, and his mom and sister, who I had never met, I met them later, I hadn't met at this point. They commented on a video I'm tagged in, his new girlfriend, and they were like, immediately take this down. This is not how a CPA behaves. And then when I finally did meet them, they were like, I mean, they loved me. And then, you know, after they left and, you know, whatever, like a couple days later, Rob was like, oh my God, my mom and sister loved you. And he was very sweet about it. He's like, of course they did. Like, everybody loves you. And it was very sweet. But then he goes, but my mom did say, man, I thought I was really going to hate her. And I was like, oh, why? And he goes, well, because I modeled a lot at the time. And she was like, well, because she models, like, there's no way. I thought she had like a brain in her head. I was like, Jesus, glad I passed her little test, good enough for her CPA who keeps failing this test. Anyway, so like when he would study for this test, I would go to Stoutburger, and he loves Stoutburger. So I was always picking up like $60 meals like 3 times a week for whatever. But I mean, he paid for dinner all the time too. But it's just like when you're in a relationship, it's just like, and you're always drinking too, especially in the beginning, right? You're not always really drunk, but you're always like, every night is like, we should have a drink. We should have a glass of wine. Let's go get drinks because you're newly dating. And so maybe I've been doing it wrong. And that's the thing. I don't even know how to do this. I have no idea. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, one, I've never healthily dated in my life. The closest healthy relationship I've ever really had is with a married man. And I will tell you guys about that in the next book, or maybe on Not Today. It's the worst thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I don't ever talk about it. But I've made amends. They're also divorced, and he's long gone. But like that was the healthiest relationship I ever had. And the other one was with Rob. Like the starting out, like where we like dated the way you should, and then you slept together like the fourth or fifth date. You know what? I don't have any idea how to healthily date. In my experience, you just, and what is that? I think it's from Swingers too. So I might accidentally quote him, but he's totally right. In my experience, you just go and get drinks, and then you're both so nervous that you drink a bunch, and then you end up making out or having sex, and then sometimes it progresses from there, and sometimes, and I want to do it healthily now, and I'm not really sure how. I don't know where it said it helps you better with the capacity for human connection. I'm like, how do we get on this tangent? But I've been thinking about it a lot lately, where I'm like, man, I do want to meet somebody, but I have no idea where, how. I don't even know how to date. So I'm giving up. I'm throwing in the towel, and not like I'm giving up. I'm moving to an island and, marrying my cat or myself. Like I said, you can't marry your cat. He can't consent, but like, I'm not like giving up like that, but I'm just like, I have no idea. I'm done trying, done going and putting myself out there. Not forever. I feel like this is really spinning out. I'm not done putting myself out there. I don't mean that. Like if something comes along that I'm interested in, fortune favors the brave, but like, I'm done looking, man. I don't know. I mean, like something had told me to reach out to this recent guy who stopped responding to me once I made actual plans with him. It was just like, reach out. And so now I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm just going to enjoy not having to pick up an extra meal every time I get food. I'm going to enjoy eating in bed. I eat in bed a lot, you guys. I ate on the toilet too. I accidentally ate a cookie on the toilet the other day. That's how this whole podcast started. And while I was eating it, I was like, I can't be the only person. I was eating a cookie. I had to pee. So I went in there to pee, and I put the cookie in my mouth and pulled down my pants. And then I finished the cookie while I was peeing. I wasn't like shitting, but I'm sure I've eaten while I've shit, which is really a funny thing because something's going in and something's coming out. It's interesting. But I eat in bed all the time. Like, I mean, like an absurd amount I eat in bed, like at least like 6 days a week. Not like, yeah, sometimes full meals, sometimes like a full rice, chicken, salad situation. And I'm like, I'm an adult woman. And I get to do whatever the fuck I want. But I don't know. Rob would have never allowed me to eat in our bed. I remember one birthday I had, or the only birthday I had when we were together, I went to the beach all day with a bunch of friends, like the drinking beach. And my friend Natasha at the time, she gave me a bunch of she was like a big pill person, like legal pills, but like was like, I don't know. She gave me like, I can't remember. She gave me an Adderall and a Xanax. She gave me something I should not have mixed together along with alcohol, and I got super drunk and blacked out. Right. It was my birthday, so they gave me they took me back to Rob's. I was covered in sand, and he hated anything cluttered, dirty. Anything. Like one time we were having sex and my period started in the middle of it, and he flipped the fuck out. Like anything dirty freaked this guy out, right? It was like, and he got so mad about the period thing. Like I was like, yeah, I was planning this. I was trying to have sex with you right as it was starting because I wanted to upset you. God, that was such a bullet dodged. I'm so grateful that relationship ended. I mean, I wish that guy well. Honestly, it's so funny looking back on him now. It's just like, man, I hope he's, doing all right. Like, no hard feelings, man. We just weren't meant to be. No way we would have worked now. Yeah, I think he probably voted for Trump or close to it. Definitely a Republican. And that is on my absolutely not list. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so my friends dropped me off at and I think I ate some in his bed, and while I was covered in sand, and then I passed out. And the next morning, he was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "What?" He goes, "You were so drunk, I couldn't even wake you up. I was like shaking and yelling at you." And I was like, "Well, that's weirdly violent." He's like, "You were covered in sand. My bed is covered in sand." I mean, that in that fairness, like now I would never get into my bed covered in sand, but I was hammered and also like 28. But now, yeah, I think I'm just gonna like enjoy being single, enjoy waking up in the middle of the night and really wanting to eat a quesadilla in bed while watching an episode of The Walking Dead. You can't do that shit in a relationship. Like, I guess maybe you can, but like, I don't want to date a trash can. You know what I mean? Like, I have trash can behavior, but I don't want to date someone with trash can behavior. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I think I'm just gonna enjoy this, like, and being able to come and go whenever I want. Like, if I was in a relationship right now, and the day I had my hair appointment went over like 2 hours, and then I needed to come home, and I'm recording the Sexual Revolution after this, right? And like, I would never have been able to do that if I had a boyfriend. Like, that's like, and I know a lot of people are like, sure you can. It's like, yeah, but you don't want to be that tight. Like, to me, it's a partnership with communication. And like, yeah, of course I'm really busy, but it's like, you got to make time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not being like, I would completely succumb my whole schedule to this person, but like, you have to have some consideration. I wrote a book. For the other person, you know what I mean? So it's just like, instead of me like searching, I'm going to actively work on that. Cause like, I have been like the last like 6 months or so been like, man, I really would like to meet a person. And like, I miss that initial like excitement and, the first kiss and all that shit. Like, I miss that. So I've been like looking for it in really wrong places. Not like toxic places, which I'm grateful for. Cause I used to like toxic, like, I would date anything that liked me as long as they had a drinking problem and a codependency issue. I wrote a whole book about it. But by the wrong places, I mean just like people that aren't people I just not people I want to date. But like, I mean, Seattle, I chased for a long time, and I think it's just because I wanted that initial, I want to feel that again. But I think searching for it in that way is so. The point is, I thought about that today, and I was like, you know what? Why don't you just feel grateful and like just like cherish this? There's a girl a long time ago that said this. This girl hates me. This girl. I mean, I like her advice. I didn't care for her either. Most of the time when someone doesn't like you, you don't really. In my experience, and people are like, I don't like you. I'm like, that's okay. I don't really like you either. So, and a lot of times when people are like, I don't like you, I'm like, yeah, you're the exact. I'm the type of person you don't like is the exact type of person I want to be, right? Like, most people who don't like me, that's how I feel. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm glad you don't like me because that's who I want to be. But this girl gave advice. This woman has blocked and unblocked me on Facebook, I'm going to say 14 times in the last 10 years. And the only reason why I know it is we used to be friends on Facebook, and Time Hop will either show, like, I love Time Hop. I don't care what anybody says about that. I look at Time Hop every day. I love it. I love all the Katy Perry quotes I quoted 10 years ago. I quoted Marilyn Monroe a lot 10 years ago. I love the old pictures. I love it. I think I don't know. I love it. But what was I saying? Oh, so on Time Hop, her name is either I can click on it or it's blacked out because she's blocked me. This bitch has blocked me so much. It's so funny. We've had no interaction in like 8 years. But a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I talked to her and she hates you. And I'm like, yeah, I truly have no idea why. I mean, I don't like her either. So I've never really been like, oh, should we talk about it? Like, who cares? But she did give me something that I do think about a lot, especially in times where I'm not doing a lot. I was unemployed, and I don't even know if she gave me this advice. I think she gave it to someone else, and someone else told me she gave, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I was unemployed, and I was really feeling down about where I was in my career. No money was coming in. It was just, I was just really, it was just like a shitty time. And this girl was like, yo, you should be really grateful for this time. Like, I mean, obviously, like, hustle and look for a job or whatever, but like, take time, because sometime in the near future, you're going to have no time. You're going to be so busy. You're going to wish you would have enjoyed these days where you maybe laid by the pool for a few hours instead of like stressing out, because it's all going to work out. So you should be grateful for the downtime you have now, because eventually you won't. And I still use that, like, when work is slow and I'm like really freaked out. I'm like, you know what? Why don't you just lay by the pool? Let's read a book today. Because like I am right now, I'm super busy, right? Like, my days are really packed. I'm scheduling like coffee dates and shit where I'm like, I have like 2 weeks out in advance. I'm really busy right now. And so I take that advice for like a partner. Like one day I'm going to have a person in my life, and it will be wonderful, and I'll love them, and it'll be great. But I will also sometimes, because I know a lot of my friends in relationships miss their alone time, miss the times that they were single. And so I'm not going to be single forever. So maybe I ought to enjoy the independence and freedom to eat a quesadilla in my bed while watching The Walking Dead at 4 a.m. on any given Thursday or Wednesday, Or maybe I should just marry myself. It's logamy. That made my whole day. Also, so one of the things, so it was a lot of questions about whether or not you could marry your own child or a child, which is really, really, really upsetting. Apparently, though, where is it? It's like 44 states. Oh, yeah. Child marriage is legal in 44 states. Only Delaware, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island have set the minimum age at 18 and eliminated all exceptions. And then 20 states do not require any minimum age as long as there's a parent or a judge waiver. What the fuck? How is that? 44 states, child marriage is legal. We need to really catch up. I don't know. I'm reading a book right now. I started it last year and then I put it down, and I recently picked it up. It's called Hiding in Plain Sight. And it's basically like the fall of the American dream and why President Trump became President Trump. Like, it all dated back to like the early 70s. And like, this is not like something like, this is something that has been like in the making for a long time. Like, we are like, they were saying like, up in our history's point to 73, production and worker wage were steadily increasing at the same rate. And then at 73, it just sort of went off the rail. It's so wild. So I don't remember what I was going to say about reading Hiding in Plain Sight. Oh yeah. It's just that we're fucked. So like, I'm not shocked that 44 states, it's legal for children to just get married. And also not shocked that when I Googled sologamy, like 14 different ways asked how you could marry your own child. Like, what the fuck? Now, when I read stuff like that, I'm just like, I think that's a wrap on the human race. Let's just wrap it up. I mean, I think the planet's about to kick us off. It's really trying. And I think in the next very near future it will. What a weird way to end Crawl Space. But I will say, so also part of the Googling sologamy, I did not make up double cousined. So I'm double cousined. If you're a new listener or haven't listened back in the thing, like I was always explaining, like, so my grandma Wanda is basically my cousin because my grandma and my granddad are married or were married. And then my Aunt Jane and my Uncle Dean were married. And then my Aunt Jane and my granddad were brother and sister. And then my grandma and my Uncle Dean were cousins. So not by blood, but by marriage, I'm a little inbred, right? And so one of the questions on here, I got so excited when I saw it. It was like, how can you marry yourself? And then the next question was, double cousins are what is a double cousin? Double cousins are relatives that are cousins from two different branches of the family tree. This occurs when siblings respectively reproduce with different siblings from another family. This may also be referred to as cousins on both sides. I don't think that was really the mic drop I thought it was going to be. As I'm reading it out loud into a microphone that is going to go out into the world, I'm like, oh, you're like, see, told you, I am inbred. No one was denying that. Nobody was denying that. We learned a lot here today. I might marry myself. But I'm just gonna share it. Like, I don't know. Maybe that'll give you some perspective if you're single or if you're like not, if you can't find a job, just like everything always works out. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you're like still, you're being a good person, and maybe that's naive and that's for sure my privilege, but like, I don't know. So I saw a TikTok the other day where a guy was like, he was like, hey, I was about to do the TikTok trend where you show how much your gas is, like how much it is to fill up your tank. And he goes, and I was about to do that. And then I stopped and thought, what are you doing? And he goes, years ago, not too long ago, I was unable to pay for gas. I didn't have any money at all. And even putting like $10 in my tank was almost impossible. And he goes, and today I drive a really nice car that I'm able to fill up without even thinking about it. So he goes, instead of like bitching about the gas prices, I should just say thank you that this isn't affecting me as much as it is affecting a lot of people, or as much as it would have affected me 10 years ago. And so it's just, I don't know, just perspective, I guess. And my person's there somewhere. We'll find them, him, her, who knows? I'm open. Yeah. And I'm out of poop scoops, guys. I'm out of poop scoops. I was working a rave this last weekend. I was working this rave and I was bartending next to this like very cute, very serious man. He had to leave in the middle of it. His girlfriend needed him, but so he was like not like available, but he was like just very cute, very sweet. And I found myself explaining to him my poop law about how I've been late before because I almost shit my pants. Why? And he's like, oh, okay. I was like, I feel like we all should just be okay with that, right? Like no one should be able to lie about it. You know what I mean? Like now how COVID, people can be like, oh, I have a cough so they can get out of shit. I think that there should be a rule with both. Like you can use the poop law, but it can never be a lie. Now, I don't know how we'd enforce that unless someone has an in with a higher power that they can actually control shit. You know what I mean? Like if like you were like, yo, God, will we make this rule? Then God will be like, all right, if you break the rule and lie that you were going to shit your pants, but you were just running late, I'm going to make you shit your pants somewhere really embarrassing. Like the bank. I don't know why the bank feels like it, but I think I've almost pooped my pants at a bank. I've almost pooped my pants everywhere. I have IBS, which I'm going to talk to my new doctor about tomorrow. Maybe she'll help me. She'll help with the migraines. Maybe I'll be like, hey, I've already worked out the fake conversation in my head a bunch in the shower, so I don't need to go over it on Crawl Space. But send me your poop scoops, please. If you have a poop scoop, and you don't want to type it out, but you want to say it in your voice memo and then email me at kimcrawlspace@gmail.com. Now, if you have already done that, there seems to be a glitch. I was trying to get into the Kim Crawlspace email and it is not letting me in. So to be fair, I tried for like 10 minutes, got annoyed, and then popped on here. So if you have sent it, I will hopefully get to it next week, hopefully. But if not, please, 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 please send them to me. I know you have a story. I know you do. My buddy recently was like, I don't have a story. I was like, I just simply don't believe you. That's it. I just simply do not believe you. And if you are telling the truth, this means this is like 49 years built up of you just blowing out your pants at a bank. I don't know why a bank seems like really embarrassing. It's just really quiet in there. You know what I mean? You couldn't quietly, like, no one quietly poops their pants. Like you quietly shart maybe, but nobody quietly like blows out their draws. I don't know what I'm saying, but I feel like a library is like quiet, but there's a lot of places to hide. A bank, it's pretty open. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty wide open. So I feel like if you've gotten to a certain age in your life and you've never had any sort of incident, you're probably going to shit your pants at a bank. I don't even know what that means. Even though I have no pooping pants stories, I somehow always manage to make myself laugh at the poop scoop about some random thought about poop I've had. So let's say I am a one lucky broad. Oh man, I'm one lucky broad. Guys, this is a cool life. I like it here. I like this planet. I'm really grateful I'm here. I have a friend that is turning 30 this month, and she was like, I can't believe I made it to 30. And I was like, man, I felt that way too. And I am so grateful that changed, and even more grateful that I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be alive. I had a traumatic upbringing, and so I just never thought I would get further than like literally it was like in like elementary school was like, all right, 2 years old. Like I just could never see. And that's a trauma response. I've read into it. It's a PTSD response, to where you never can see too far in the future. And I like 19, I hit 20 and I was like, all right, I guess I got to 20, I got to 21. I just never thought I would make it. And then I found this program, and not only do I know, pending some, awful tragedy. If that happens, I have a trunk in my closet. Please just dump it somewhere or burn it. No one read it. Okay. Just, that's my dying wish. Just dump it. Don't read it. It's like 35 years of crazy. I'm not crazy, but 35 years of just journals. Just dump it. Okay. I mean, if you want to read it, that's pretty fucked up of you, and you have to live with yourself for going against a dying man's wish. But I'm just asking you to dump it. But like, I just never thought, not only like, again, pending something horrible, but like now I think I want to be here a long time, and I'm planning for the future, and I like it here, and I like being alive. And, I'm one grateful broad that I'm one lucky broad that I found that, a lot of people with my type of brain issues, my mental illness stuff, they don't. So I am one lucky broad that I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be alive. And I'm grateful for fucking new perspectives, just fucking grateful today. Also, my hair looks fucking great. I just love it, dude. All right, guys, that is the episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you always for listening. It means the world to me. If you want these episodes early, I will say it again. I'll probably say it every week. I would love it if you join Patreon. If you're able to, it just mean the world to me. And then you get a couple of extra bonus episodes, plus this early, and yeah, my audiobook, which I'm still working on. I hate having a perfectionist brain. I might just release it and be like, fuck it. Yeah, so if you want to join that would be really awesome. Just go to my website and go under Crawl Space. There's a Patreon, or you just go to patreon.com/KimKral. And yeah, leave a review, leave a rating, means a lot to me. Or buy my book, Confessions of a Recovering Party Girl. Buy them now, because soon I'm going to hopefully get a publisher to take a look at them and maybe get them in bookstores. So buy them, buy like the quote first edition or whatever. Other than that, thank you for all the support and love. It means a lot to me that you all listen every week. About halfway through every episode, I'm like, do I sound like a crazy person? Like, I get real present and I'm like, you sound totally insane. I think we're all a little mad. Isn't that Alice in Wonderland? All right, guys, I love you all. I will talk to you soon. Be kind, be safe. Bye.